You've seen them in the room, the guitars. I just really love playing the electric guitar. At least in the past 5 years. I've played guitar since I was in high school, but in the last 5 years, it's just been something that I have tried to do every day and longer when I have the time, evenings, and on the weekends. When I was younger, but had just kind of turned an adult and was thinking about work and that, and I was thinking about becoming a pastor, I used to ask pastors what they would do if they didn't have this vocation, this job as a pastor. And I got some interesting answers. Usually people were able to answer it, but behind that question was a kind of interest in discovering whether I was dealing with a real person. And I think I wanted to discover whether they had a life beyond religion, apart from church. In a sense, I was wondering, can I really trust you? Can I really trust whether that you're not just some religious fanatic who doesn't recognize that there are really good things in this world other than church and praying and doing spiritual disciplines and all that sort of thing. See, the good news is you don't have to quit your job or your work in order to do something else that you like. In fact, you better do something, because if you don't, you're probably living a pretty unhealthy lifestyle. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I am Michael Stewart Robb, better known as Mike, and today we're talking about lifestyle issues, as we have been talking about all year in these Pensies videos. We've been talking about things that are really important bases for your life, no matter where you live, no matter what you do. I've tried to be as general as possible, but I've tried to be at least contextual within sort of Europe, within maybe other places similar to Europe, what kinds of lifestyle are necessary in order to have a basis from which you can have a healthy life with God. You know, these are fundamental things. We're talking about sleeping, we're talking about eating, we're talking about today having a hobby. Now, Christmas is coming, and in the West at least, this is a time in which we give gifts to other people and think about these gifts as ways of helping other people, adults in this case, develop their hobby, their time to play. We're giving people things that often, very often, that they don't really need, but things that they enjoy. And very often people ask for things or receive things that have to do with those hobbies that they have. A hobby, I think, is something which you do, which isn't your work and it isn't your vocation, it isn't your job, in which you actively explore goodness in God's world. It's very related to play, in which you do something which has no point whatsoever. It just doesn't accomplish anything. I think that there's a yeah, they're very related. Hobbies tend to be things that we do actually get better at, whereas play is just almost completely frivolous. It just doesn't really take you anywhere, and that's good too. And so I guess this could have just as well have been about play, except I think with hobbies it's something that we're always coming back to, always sort of doing over and over. And well, I just think this is really something which we need to take more seriously in the church. And especially, I'll just say this, especially for people who are ministers like myself, make sure that you have something, at least one thing that you count as a hobby. And obviously there's lots of things that can qualify here. You don't have to play guitar, obviously. Now, my first idea here is really a question. Do you think hobbies are in the Bible? Do you think play is in the Bible? I actually happen to think that it is, and I think this falls under the category of Sabbath. Now, the idea behind Sabbath and Sabbath days is, yeah, you do no work. It also means that you rest, but there are different kinds of rest, and rest isn't only a matter of sleeping and taking naps, and it's not only a matter of not doing the normal things that you normally have to do, and it's not just a matter of going to church and singing worship songs and kind of entering into that eternal praise, but it's also a matter of doing things that renew and restore us, and things that we like to do, things that we don't really need to do, things that are just grace. And I think hobbies are really fall into that category. And obviously you don't have to just wait until that one day you call Sabbath to do them, but they should be a part of an overall lifestyle, a whole Sabbath lifestyle. And so you would include them in your week and just have that kind of connection to rest all through your life. See, I think this is very important because we have to really be careful that we are not taking our lives too seriously. Hobbies can help us become light, to be easy, to not be heavy. And I think this is very important today, has been important for all of human history, to not just be so extreme in the things that we do, to not think that we are so important, or to think that what we're doing is so important that we don't have any time to just do something that we just like, or something that doesn't matter all that much. I mean, what I do on the guitar, it doesn't matter. I don't have to get better, but it's fun to do that, and that's really important. And it becomes an important thing then if you are a minister, or if you're doing some sort of work, that you have a particular kind of posture towards that and with the other people that you're with. And I think that posture is a posture of lightness and of easiness. And this is a posture I think that we see in Jesus. Now, there's another thing about hobbies that I think are really crucial today, where we talk a lot about burnout, because people are working too much. They're just filling all of their time with these things that they need to do, and things that they take way too seriously, and then they get burnt out. Now, I have rarely met, I don't know, I don't meet lots of people who have burnouts, but the idea of having a hobby, really, it's like having a brake on your car. It just slows you down and keeps you from going too fast and going over cliffs and running into things. It just helps you sort of pause and take a break from these things that perhaps are rather important that you're doing, but to just not put all of yourself into them, but have some reserve. So think about that. If you're the person you think, oh, you know, I'm likely to suffer a burnout here. Well, think about, do you actually have a hobby that you are keeping up, that you are taking as seriously as that important work that you're doing? And one of the ways that we take our hobby seriously is that we actually invest in them. We actually give them time and money, not just a little time. It's not like, you know, Christians can only do free things. Followers of Jesus can do things that cost money, and obviously some of this is within reason. I mean, a hobby of buying yachts is probably not a great pursuit, but I have this book in my hand because I was thinking of a quote that I heard from Dallas Willard, something about sort of investing in your hobbies. And so I wrote to this man that I know, Trevor Hudson, to see if he could remember what it was, because perhaps he's the one that kind of told me this, and indeed he was. He said it was in this book, and it's in his chapter in this book called Eternal Living. It's a little biographical snippets about Dallas Willard. And this is a letter that Dallas Willard wrote to Trevor Hudson years and years ago, probably 80s or 90s. He says this: find sources of joy and cultivate them. Invest in them. Time and money. What things do you really enjoy? Things that have nothing to do with family, work, or religion. See, you really need stuff like that. You really need stuff like that. I mean, don't worry that it's going to take over your whole life. It probably won't. So, but find something like that, something that doesn't have to do with your work or your ministry, or even, as Dallas says here, even your family. Find something like that and invest in it. Be willing to spend money in order to do it, and do it well. just it has to be reasonable, but don't neglect it. Now, I would really like to know what kinds of hobbies you all have, or what kinds of things that you do that do cultivate joy for you. What sorts of activities are they, whether they're a classic hobby or not? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Just 1 or 2 words. Just write it down there, and we'll see how many of these we can actually get. I just would love to sort of hear a chorus of voices of what sorts of things people are doing out there, and maybe take it as a test of, like, confessing, this is my hobby, this is what I do, this is what I'm going to be investing time and money into. Well, thank you for being here, and do remember to go over to Sanctus.Institute and subscribe for our almost monthly newsletter if you haven't already. You can subscribe to this channel, but even better, subscribe to the newsletter and keep in touch with us. We're all about spirituality and theology in Europe. See you next time. Bye.